Good morning, students. So, in previous lecture, we have studied about the different stages of combustion in SI engine, and this was actually the sequence of the events in the entire combustion process in a CI engine. Okay. So, if you remember this particular diagram also, that is okay. But I will definitely uh, say you to remember this particular diagram. Okay. Just one second. This one. So, where the total four processes have been indicated. Okay, so you go through this diagram, you write down these particular four processes. After that, you have to explain one by one: ignition delay period, what is ignition delay period, what are the different parts of this particular ignition delay period, what are the different factors that are affecting on this delay period. In short, you can write, okay, no, not in detail. After that, factors affecting the delay period. So this you may write or you may not write. If you are not written, then also it is okay, no problem. Okay, but when separate question is asked on this particular, what are the different factors affecting on the delay period, so in that case we have to explain all these particular factors. Okay, and we have to draw these particular diagrams in that. The period of rapid combustion, that is the second stage. Okay, this is third stage and this is fourth stage. Okay, so that we have to explain, and if you remember, then you can draw this particular diagram. If not drawn, then also it is okay, no problem. Okay, now let us discuss about this knock in CI engine, how the knocking takes place in the CI engine. So in SI engine also we have seen the knocking in the that is SI engine. But remember, if you remember that knock in the SI engine takes place at the end of combustion. Okay, at the end of combustion, whatever unburned hydrocarbons are remain, that unburned hydrocarbons get self-ignited or auto-ignited, and in the reverse direction some waves are generated due to that unburned hydrocarbons burning. Okay, and whatever forward waves are there, these forward waves and backward waves, pressure waves actually, they get collide and some sounds are created, hammering sound like sounds are created, and that is known as knocking in a SI engine. But let us discuss what is happening in the knock in CI engine. So remember this here, as already we have discussed about the ignition delay period. What is this ignition delay period? So this is nothing but the start of injection and start of combustion. The time between these two processes is called as ignition delay period. Now let us assume that this particular ignition period is very much higher. What will happen? If this ignition period is very much higher, large amount of unburned hydrocarbons or the unburned mixture will be formed inside the combustion chamber. Okay, the quantity of this particular unburned hydrocarbons or the not burned particles or fuel mixture is very much higher, and what will happen? The due to this large quantity, and whenever actual combustion takes place, there is a very much drastic change in pressure inside the combustion chamber. Okay, and that's why some pressure rise, irregular pressure rises will be there inside the combustion chamber, and due to that large amount of waves are created with a high pressure, and that will get collide on this combustion walls or the cylinder walls, and hammering sounds are created. That is nothing but your knocking. Remember here. So what is the difference between knocking in CI engine and SI engine? In SI engine, knocking takes place due to unburned hydrocarbon which are available at the end of the combustion. Here you can see that knocking is taking place at the starting of the combustion actually. At the start only, due to the large accumulation of the quantity of the different fuel mixture, the auto ignition of that particular mixture gets generated. Auto ignition, okay, remember that word. Due to auto ignition, sudden rise in pressure takes place, and that is nothing but your knocking. Okay, so this we have to remember. Now here here ignition delay period, due to the ignition delay period, if the ignition delay period is very much longer, then and then only it will happen. In SI engine, there was one word that is called ignition lag. Okay, so auto ignition temperature should not be reached in that case, so that here ignition lag must be less in that case. Okay, so here ignition lag must be less, and here ignition delay period must be longer to avoid the sorry, ignition delay period must be shorter, sorry, ignition delay period must be shorter in case of CI engine to avoid the knocking, and here ignition lag must be longer to avoid the knocking. So that is the difference here. Remember, what is ignition delay period here? Longer means what will happen here? Look at this. The actual burning of the first few droplets is delayed, and a greater quantity of fuel droplets gets accumulated in the chamber. Okay, so here you can see this is start of injection and this is start of combustion, and this much amount of quantity, let us assume that it is fog. Okay, when the actual burning commences, the additional fuel can cause too rapid a rate of pressure rise as shown in the figure, and it resulting in a jamming of the forces against the piston and rough engine operation is created. Okay, so what is knock? Let us say again, engine knock phenomena is similar to that of knocking in SI engine. In SI engine, knocking occurs near the end of the combustion. In CI engine, knocking occurs near the beginning of the combustion. So in examination, they may ask the question like difference. Write down the difference between knocking in SI engine and knocking in CI engine. So you have to mention these particular differences. In order to decrease the tendency of knock, what we have to do in this case in CI engine, it is necessary to decrease the ignition delay. Thus, decrease the amount of fuel present when the actual burning of the first few droplets takes place. Okay, so this, by using these particular factors, we can decrease the knocking in CI. Okay, remember this. Okay, so what is actually happening in the that particular ignition delay period? What is the effect of this ignition delay? Let us discuss here again in one more detail. Okay, so here we can understand how exactly the detonation takes place. So if you see here in the first case, okay, if you see in the first case, what you are seeing here, this is normal case. Okay, so this is the start of the injection and this is start of the combustion. Okay, but here very less amount of fuel is accumulated during this particular case. So this is a normal case, and the pressure rises is also very much normal, and whatever maximum pressure is occurred here in this first curve, this is after TDC, a little bit after TDC. Now if you see in the second graph, what is happening here, this is the start of injection and this is start of the combustion, and if you see here some amount of this black horizontal line, dark line, indicates that some large amount of quantity is available inside the combustion chamber at the beginning. And what will happen is, when this particular large quantity get burned, what will happen, the whatever pressure rise is there, this is very near to the TDC. Okay, now let us see the third graph. What is happening here in the third graph, the large amount of quantities again here developed inside the combustion chamber due to the longer ignition delay period. And what will happen here, due to this particular large amount of quantity, the pressure rise is taking place before the TDC, and some irregular pressure curve you can see here, which is observed, and this particular process is known as knocking. Okay, so what is exactly happening here, knock in SI engine and knock CI engine are fundamentally similar. In SI engine, it occurs near the end of the combustion, whereas in CI engines, it occurs near the beginning of the combustion. This is first difference. Knock in CI engines is related to delay period. When delay period, DP means what? Delay period is longer, there will be more and more accumulation of the fuel droplets in combustion chamber. This leads to a too rapid pressure rise due to ignition, resulting in jamming of forces against the piston and rough engine operation. When the delay period is too long, the rate of pressure rise is almost instantaneous with more accumulation of the fuel. Okay, so this knock in SI engine and CI engine, if you see the difference here, you can see from this graph. So we have to draw this graph also for the difference in knocking in SI engine and knocking in CI engine. So here you can see after TDC we have got the irregular curve of this pressure curve, and here, or the combustion curve we can say, and here in the CI engine you can see at the beginning of the TDC, and some point is also there after TDC. So this is at the start of the injection. Okay, so remember this difference, we have to draw this particular graphs, right? So I hope you understood what is this particular detonation or the knocking in CI engine, and what is the difference between knocking in SI engine and knocking in CI engine. Okay, thank you.